Hey, what's up, people? This is episode 56. This is Sports Debate Tuesday. The episode starts right now. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. That's what happens when you got a cold. Oh shit.
Oh
My
no,
battery low, so let me go on this. What's up, people?
battery.
This is the
What's
option. This is episode 56 of the Option Podcast. I am Jason DeBiss. That is Rob. Keep it McLean. We got a lot to talk about today. UFC 259 coming up, babe. LeBron, another, maybe somebody else is telling him to more or less shut up and dribble. We're going to talk about that. We got little football, of course. Russell Wilson doesn't demand to be traded, but it looks like he's not happy there, and they're not happy with him. So, but first things first. Rob, LeBron James responds to soccer's Zlatan Ibrahimovic when Ibrahimovic said he shouldn't be talking about politics, and I guess I'm paraphrasing, told him to stay in his lane. LeBron James responded by saying, I do my homework. There's no way I would ever stick to sports because I understand this platform and how powerful my voice is. So, Rob McLean, what do you think of LeBron James's response?
Well, first I gotta
Go
say,
ahead.
Ibrahimovic is one of the all-time soccer players, especially in World Cup history. He's had some of the craziest goals. He's broken that idea of you can only play past a certain age in the football world. So you have to give him all the credit as well that he's coming from a certain place too. Uh, but getting back to what he said to LeBron about not getting involved in politics because it gets messy. I mean, it's just a cop out, and LeBron, I feel like, said it absolutely perfectly. He's the one who was also talking about the Serbian racial injustices that he was facing because his name didn't match that. And that's, I mean, okay, we can talk about names, we can talk about what people are being said, but, what LeBron is talking about is the same exact thing he talked about. So I just don't see, and maybe he just doesn't have the empathy to see somebody else's point of view. But if you talk up about giving people the right the chance to just be themselves, LeBron's being himself. He's always been this guy. Always, he's helped people. He's talked out about things that he believes is not the right. It doesn't mean he's in the right, but he has the right to have that speech. He has the right to say those things. Everybody does. Now, this is Ibrahimovic's, ideas or opinions on what LeBron said, which is great. He can have them, but it just doesn't really matter because he doesn't really know what he's talking about. Like if I or LeBron would say to him, oh, well, maybe you should just keep playing soccer because people don't really care about the way your name is and all this stuff. You can't diminish someone's experiences. So I think it was really, really unempathetic of Ibrahimovic because, again, like we said, and especially in a lot of football, there's a lot of racial aptitude. There's a lot of racial, things that you go to different countries and they have different rules. In Russia, it gets horrible out there because there's really no pushback on any type of, injustice at all. So very, very
Different
difficult.
free
I
speech
think
rules.
LeBron responded absolutely perfectly. And that's why we haven't heard any much more about it.
I think it's his response. I would call, you called it perfect. I call it perfectly proportionate. Um, Rob, before I say what I'm going to say, and I always sound like I say this every week, free speech, just reminding my friends, oh, you could say what you want. It's a free country. It's free speech, this and that. One, in America, free speech only protects you from government persecution, okay? It doesn't protect you from others' free speech. It's just as much this guy's right to criticize LeBron James as it is LeBron James to have his own views and to have his own opinions. So on a general level, I don't know what the rules are in Serbia and whatever. Maybe free speech doesn't apply the same way, but I want to disclaimer this to my American friends that people can just because you're in this country and say what you want to say doesn't always make it a great idea. A few years ago, Meryl Streep goes on the Oscars, goes on this political rant. And in the middle of her political rant, she said, if we do not allow immigrants in this country, then we're only left with American football and mixed martial arts, which, by the way, is not the arts. And I thought it was a very stupid freaking thing to say. I'm like, what the hell is she talking about? And because I'm a football fan, and because I'm an MMA fan, I use that as a straw man argument to tell her to stay in her lane. And of course, when you post something on social network to tell Meryl Streep to stay in her lane, I mean, you think LeBron got fans? Meryl Streep got fans. Oh, it's a free country. Oh, she gets to say whatever she wants. Oh, but that's not what she was talking about. And I didn't tell her to shut the hell up. I just said, no, she should know what she's talking about before she opens her mouth, which I thought was fair. And why is that, Rob? Because if we had no immigrants in this country, we wouldn't have mixed martial arts either. Right? Who's our 185-pound champ? Israel Adesanya. Where's he from? Nigeria. Who's our 155-pound champ? Was Khabib Nurmagomedov, Dagestan, Russia. Who's our 135 and 145-pound champ? Amanda Nunes. She's from Brazil. Who's our 125-pound female champ? Valentina Shevchenko. She's born in Peru, and I think she's Russian. Okay? We can go on, right? We can go on and on and on. Who else? Who else we got? We got Peter Yan, I think, is fighting this weekend. I mean, I could just look at the list, right? In fact, I could just look at the list of people fighting this week. Jan Blachowicz, I believe he's Polish. So if we didn't have, it didn't make sense to me, because if we didn't have immigrants in this country, we wouldn't have MMA either. And for her to say it's not the arts is just her being persnickety and prissy. And I told her, know what you're talking about. I basically posted, know what you're talking about before you open your mouth. And I'm only using that example because there's an underlying disparaging difference between what Meryl Streep said and what LeBron James says. LeBron James opted words out of, and that whole diatribe, a reverse diatribe that he gave back to Ibrahimovic. The three words I got out of that, out of everything, I do my homework. I do my homework. Everything that LeBron says is not, some of it's political, but it comes from a human rights movement. And if certain politicians want to hijack the narrative and say Republicans are supposed to think this way and Democrats want to think this way, that's not his problem. Black Lives Matter. He is a black man that grew up in Akron, Ohio. Okay? He identifies with being black. You are a black man. I am half black, half white. I more instances than not identify with being a black man. So for him to speak on matters that pertain to his own wheelhouse, through his own life experience, not to mention that the fact that he did his own homework before he returned the quote to this amazing savage soccer player, and savage in a good way. The dude's a beast, right? Shows that his response was not only proportionate and not only appropriate, but given our current climate and that we still have a lot of work to do, imperative. Wow. I think that's it.
That's
Something
about
else
it.
You want to add, Rob?
No, I just think, like we said, I think LeBron responded, without, emotion. He put exactly the words that he wanted into there, and, he didn't, jab him at all. It was just facts on facts. Like, if that's what you feel, cool. But, come and live this experience of the kids that I built a school for, that they still have to go through these injustices, or just, living in a place that doesn't get a lot of public funding, so they don't have schools like that. It's amazing LeBron made that school, but look at all the schools around the area. It's just, it's very difficult when people, will take one thing in a vacuum and say, this is why it happened. There's so many factors on so many levels. And if we start to see and we start to empathize with other people, I think we'll start to just wrap our head around how we want to start, building for the future.
Yeah, and it's a very unique situation because he's not speaking from a place of white privilege, right? It's a lot of
Right.
Eastern European people, they don't even know what the hell that means. And I mean, you want to talk about oppressed, you want to talk about being able to use a firearm for home protection and all that stuff.
Right.
I think in more ways than when they can identify with being black, but not. And I say that humorously because there's so many layers that makes it not even comparable or even close. So we're still being serious. I have to say that was a joke, but
Right.
but yeah, great response. LeBron did his thing. Good proportionate response. Okay, that's the NBA. He did a pretty good job taking care of the Warriors on Sunday night. He's got some important games coming up. I don't know where
Yeah.
Anthony Davis' status is, but I think the more he does that, the more he's gonna probably be MVP by default.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to do that. I don't think he's got the gas tank for what he's going to be, up for the next 2-3 months. Honestly, I just think that Anthony Davis, I was watching a little bit about this. He got hurt in the last playoffs, not even in the bubble. He got hurt like before that. He had to sit out from the bubble for a little bit in that playoff run, and now we're going into this year, and he's already hurt that same area. It is very concerning because the bigger you get, the worse those lower body injuries become. And so for me, Anthony Davis, who is not that big banger type, he's about movement and agility and being able to react quickly on the defensive end. I mean, that's a really difficult injury that I think and I believe that the Lakers are going to give him tons of rest for. And they're going to go out, try to get another big so that they can compete with people down in the paint. But at the end of the day, I think LeBron this is going to be a very, very, very difficult championship run for them because you're going to have an exhausted LeBron and you're going to have all these pieces that are forming into something around LeBron. And now you put AD back in and you have to figure out how all that's going to mesh again. So it's going to be very interesting. I think that just kind of notches him down with this Anthony Davis injury.
Yeah. Yep. No doubt. Cool. I mean, finishing top 2 or 3 might be important, right? Nobody wants to face the 1 seed in the
Very.
second round. I mean, so, and I think they can do that. I think they'll swing that. I think they have, if you look at their schedule, I mean, everybody's beating everybody, but there's a huge separation when it comes to March and April. So we'll see what happens as that unfolds.
The West is deep, but also, man, I think.
We're gonna get into the East in a minute.
Fun.
We're gonna get into the East in a minute
fun.
because the Brooklyn Nets have changed the footprint of the way
Yes.
the Eastern series is being run. We know the Celtics are respectable. We know Giannis Greek Freak's gonna be there at the end. We know the Raptors are well coached. Maybe we'll talk about the New York Knicks
and
later.
Hey, Miami.
Maybe we'll talk about the new.
Come on. And Miami, they're defending. They're trying to get back to the chip again. So. What it seems to me is like there's actually a number one, in the East. It's not just everybody, because back in the day it was, the Cleveland Cavaliers. That was the number one. And then 2, 3, 4, 5 was whoever else was good enough.
Yeah.
But now it's like
really. It was Miami and then Cleveland.
Right. So, and now you have all these teams like Sixers, Bucks, not the Knicks. You got Miami Heat. You got all these East Coast teams that are balling right now, or at least have the talent to ball. But no matter what, Brooklyn's going to be number one. It's just what it is.
I think so. I think with the 3 of them on the court, I don't see too many, too many teams and a very good coaching staff. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the NBA. We're definitely going to revisit the NBA in a minute. For now, let's go back to the NFL. At the top of the headline over the weekend, coming into Monday night, this volleyball or this sports debate Tuesday, Russell Wilson stormed out of a meeting, not happy with the owner's son. Don't know what the hell's going on with there, but now they're talking about he might not last long in Seattle, though he said he has not demanded a trade formally. But has said he would consider playing, like if he were to leave, he would consider playing with the Saints, the Raiders, the Bears, or the Dallas Cowboys.
Bears.
Rob, since this is a talk show and we're and hypotheticals is the order of the day, at least once or twice, if not the whole damn show. What's an ideal spot for Russell Wilson if he was going to leave Seattle?
It's really difficult to say because of those four teams, I think really two of them could make legitimate offers for for Russell Wilson, and especially with the Bears. And I feel like that would be the greatest matchup because Russell's that type of guy who's a tough guy. You can't really, you're not going to knock him out of a game. So that's the kind of guy you want in a cold, windy Chicago game. But, he's also a leader, and that's what that team really, really, really desperately needs is a leader. I mean, you've got a fantastic defense. You have a solid Chicago Bears offense. And I think it would just be what Russell had back in, 2008, 2009, 2010, where, he was rocking with 2012, 2013, 14, where he had a stud defense, but, his offense just kind of wasn't enough. So I think the Bears would be perfect for them. They can trade Mitchell Trubisky. They can keep, whoever they have behind him. Did they still have Nick Foles? I can't even remember.
Me neither.
Right? I feel like they traded him away, but just regardless, I mean Mitchell
we
Trubisky,
got an hour
he was
show,
playing
man.
a
We
little
can't be
bit better.
following backups.
I know, right? Mitchell Trubisky, he had been playing a lot better this year. Even though his numbers didn't really match, he had been playing the ball he should be playing. And I think, that'll be interesting. I think Seattle's, once Russell Wilson is done, there's going to be a huge reboot in that whole system. I think Paul Carroll's going to be gone. I think it's going to be Pete Carroll's going to be gone. I think it's going to be a whole reboot. So it depends if they're going to blow things up right now. I don't really like the team that they have, but yeah, I think the Bears for me is the best realistic option. But if we want to talk about fantasy land, I would love to see him play for the Saints, man. That would just be amazing. Put like a younger Drew Brees type of player in there. I mean, it's a perfect matchup.
With Taysom
that
Hill's
defense
legs.
is disgusting. Yeah, it's like Drew Brees with legs.
With Taysom Hill's legs.
Yeah.
Look,
That's that. I would love to see the Saints, but I don't really think that's a realistic possibility. So I'm gonna go with the Bears in this one.
all right, let me tell you who I don't think he should be with by process of elimination. Shouldn't be with the Cowboys. I know the Cowboys. If you look at Dak Prescott's toolbox, is very, very similar to Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
He has more of an upside, a long career ahead of him, and despite the fact that he got injured, he is a very durable person. Russell Wilson, the last 2 years, has taken quite the beating. So I don't like that trade because basically you got the same as Dak Prescott, but only a couple of years. And Russell Wilson will fall victim to the accident waiting to happen. Okay, he'll know what a true jinx franchise is if he goes there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the Raiders because Gruden is I don't know what Gruden's doing there, and I don't know if his mission statement or where Russell's direction is heading is the same place.
No.
Now, which leads me to the last two. Very, very good, Rob. I mean, you almost had me with the Bears, and I think you kind of did. I mean, Russell Wilson's no stranger to playing in the cold weather. Russell's no stranger to playing on a team that has a stout defense and understands the mood of the game. Like, let me just throw this away. My defense is playing good. I ain't got to be a hero, this and that. As far as leadership is concerned, the Chicago Bears have never in the history of their franchise had a leader like him. Not even Jim McMahon, when they won all the leaders were on defense, right? And then when they got back to the Super Bowl, can't even remember who the quarterback was, but I know Brian Urlacher was a team on that also a defensive player, a linebacker.
Right.
It would be the first quarterback that they have as a true leader. And when I say true leader, somebody that leads them when it looks like things are down, that leads them even when he throws an interception. My bad. Hey, next play. I got your back. You got my back. You see him the way he talks to his team. Always taking accountability. Not doing this, always doing this. Always doing this. And putting it on his shoulders, making it about himself sometimes is exactly what Chicago needs. And look, the Saints, that would be fun. Like you said, it's Drew Brees' leadership, it's Taysom Hill's legs, and it's who's our guy that actually played really, really good under
Jameis Winston's arm.
Jameis Winston's arm, man. If you remember the NFC Championship game or whatever playoff game they had, the only touchdown they had was the Jameis Winston. He came in for the one or two plays and threw a bomb and scored.
Yeah.
So I like the Bears. I like the Bears because, again, he's no stranger to identifying with how a defense plays. If a defense is playing really, really good, he's like, I don't have to be a hero here. He's had the Legion of Boom, which was more defensive back. You know, the back four heavy, and the Chicago Bears is more front four, two of the four, and linebacker heavy.
Hmm.
And but no, makes no difference to him. I would love to see Russell Wilson go with the Bears.
Honestly, the Saints would be fun to see, but I think honestly the Cowboys is very realistic, very very realistic. You trade Dak away. I mean, he's getting 39 this year, 39 mil from the franchise tag. That's sick. That's sickening. So at least you can get a guy in who has a set number. You know what you're going to pay him, and I think the Cowboys still haven't really had leaders. Going back to your point, we can call it a jinx franchise all you want, but the reason why it wasn't, was because of Jimmy Johnson. The reason why it wasn't was because of Michael Irvin. The reason why it wasn't was because of Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith. Like, these guys were real, true leaders all at the same time. And you look back to Dallas. Who was that?
The defense too. Haley.
Yeah,
Charles Haley.
Norton. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Yep.
Like,
Smith.
they had ballers, So at the end of the day, I think that Ezekiel Elliott is not a leader. You can't pay him that money like he's getting paid to be a leader. You dump him off, you get Russell Wilson. I think you rocking. I think you get a couple more linemen, because you got to remember that offensive line was unbelievable 3 years ago. Yeah. So you kind of get everybody healthy. You get them excited with a real new piece. That receiving core was just going to tear up the league. I don't know. I don't know how you don't do that. I think that team is so talented. Again, they're going to lose. They're going to not win the NFC East. That's just the way it is. But that team is so talented that, and I'm not saying Dak's bad, but I think his numbers are actually overinflated because of how good that offense could be. So imagine putting a guy in there who could just pick apart a game and allow him to flourish. I think it's almost like the Tom Brady situation. You put somebody in a better situation with better players, they're going to shine. That's what it is.
Yep, absolutely. I think it'd be good for his brand too, right? I mean, America's team, he wouldn't need a terribly big contract because the endorsement deals and all the shine. Not to mention he's got the hot white celebrity wife. He's everything you want in a Cowboys quarterback, except that he's not white. I mean, I'm not trying to bring race into it, but that's on one of our quick questions as far as Dak getting his money and what they would offer Tony Romo. So
exactly, somehow Tony Romo at age 33 got a massive contract, didn't even finish it, and then left.
And not even durable.
Right, not even durable. No offense, like, he was good, but like in spurts, like he wasn't good all the time. So yeah, it begs the difference. It begs the question, like, what are the standards to making that money?
Yep.
Should I have this? Is it the stats? Is it the wins? Is it, the team just isn't the right team? We're going to blow it up, but it doesn't seem like that. So.
Had that in my notes for quick question, man. Guess we're gonna be doing that all over again.
Yes, cool. Sir.
Hey, let's boom on the topic 3 because our show's 50 minutes, but topic 3 is gonna be pretty quick because we're just gonna go down the line. UFC 259, we got champion versus champion as a main event. I am so excited about this. There are 4 champions. Same. There are 3 titles. It is too much, and it's one night, and it is amazing. We got Jan Blachowicz, 205-pound light heavyweight champion, defending his belt against the 185-pound champion, the sensational undefeated 20-0 Israel Stylebender Adesanya. Let's just cut through the nonsense. Who's going to win that match?
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah. You got
right.
You got 20 seconds. Go.
Oof. I, in my heart of hearts, want to pick Jan Blachowicz. I think he's going to run through Izzy, but if I'm putting smart money on it, I really think that Izzy's going to stay on the outside, beat that leg down, and then start to go to work. Because Jan allows people to hit him and then he reacts. So I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But I'm going to put my money on Izzy. I would really love to see Blachowicz win, though. I really like him.
I'm going to go Blachowicz. and I'll tell you why. He has very very good reach that a lot of the middleweights don't have. He comes in significantly heavier than the
That's
middleweights.
true.
He doesn't have to suck himself dry and get murked and butt humped like Costa did. If you remember how Israel finished him
Well, apparently
in
he was
dramatic.
hungover, so
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
we don't want to talk about
imagine
that
how he fought if
story.
he was sloshed. So he has a great mixture of wrestling and striking where I think Israel will try to create distance, but I think this is the one guy that can close the distance, that has the reach and the wherewithal to narrow the gap. I think Israel gets ragdolled for a couple of rounds, and I think Israel kind of figures it out. And I think this goes to 5 rounds because I don't see Israel finishing him. And Israel's been knocked out in his career, but as hard as Blachowicz hits, because he did starch Dominic Reyes, you know? Woo, did
Yeah,
he starch
that
Dominic
was
Reyes?
pretty gnarly.
I gotta go Blachowicz. I think it goes 5 rounds, and I think 2 of the rounds the fans are gonna be booing. I think Blachowicz is not. I'm not laying prey, but he's gonna have him against the cage, and he's gonna have top position a bit, and I think Israel's gonna defend a lot of things, and it's gonna look like both fighters are doing nothing, but they're really doing something, and I'm excited to see it. So,
Uh, I
yeah,
think KO in round 4. I don't know who it's gonna be, but
okay.
I could see a KO round 4 for
But
somebody.
you got Israel.
Technical KO.
But you
I mean,
but
I'm going
overall
Izzy with
winner.
smart
But
money.
straight up winner
I'm going.
Israel.
Yeah, I'm going with smart money on Izzy, but honestly, I really think that Blachowicz is going to win. I think it's going to be the same exact thing as Dustin Poirier versus Max
Max.
Holloway.
Yep.
You know,
Amanda Nunez, Megan Anderson. I'll go first on this. Megan Anderson, yo, she's very very physical. This is reminding everybody this is not 135. This is 145. This is the heaviest division in women's fighting, and Megan definitely knows how to use her weight. She cuts a lot of her weight in training. So even though she does walk around heavy, but when she's in training, she doesn't have to suck herself dry. She should be a lot fresher in the later rounds. But Amanda Nunez is not getting paid by the hour, and I still have this memory of her starching Chris Cyborg and head kicking Holly Holm, and also putting Jermaine Durandamine in check too, who's nicknamed the Iron Lady, and I think she does more of the same. I'll go with Amanda.
I mean, I don't think how you pick against Amanda Nunez. I mean, if you've ever seen her fight, my goodness, nobody wants to stand in front of the things that she's throwing. Like, her hands have absolute dynamite in them. So unless somebody takes the fight to her, which still does not happen, girls need to be taking the fight to her,
Yep.
not Cyborg sitting back and trying to, 1-2 and then go rampage mode.
Yeah.
You got to have a game plan. And so I just don't see, yet Megan Anderson's, level going to a place where she's game planning and executing that game plan. So I will 1000% go Amanda Nunez.
Cool, man. Yep. I'm with you. Yeah, listen, hey, one of Amanda Nunez's glaring losses was against Kat Zingano, and that's because Kat was able to push the pace. And if you remember,
Right.
Kat was undefeated at that time, and that was a lot, very much how she got a lot of her wins. She defeated Misha Tate in the 3rd round when Misha was up 2-0, and it was because she was constantly in her face. And Megan can do that stylistically. I just don't see it. I don't see it until I see it. Peter Yan defending the 135-pound bantamweight title against Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling, very, very deserving. Finally paid his dues, had some ups and downs, but found his rhythm. Caught Corey Sandhagen early with a submission. I mean, technical submission, because Corey's a stud like that. He never tapped. He just went out. I think he did tap, and the ref didn't see it and just went out. But anyway, who do you got for this fight?
Ooh. I'm going to go with my boy Aljamain Sterling. I think, his
Freaking
level
Long
is
Islanders.
not, I don't think his skill level is close to Jan's. But the one thing I did see about Peter Yan is he's not as aggressive as not as, how he hits and how much volume he puts. But it's like he really waits for the other guy before he explodes. Like, he's not first. I think I want him to be first a lot more, especially if you got the power, quickness, you're in and out, you have an idea of what you want to do to that guy. Things should be happening a lot faster. So I think Aljamain has an idea. He has a style that he wants to fight. And so I'm going to pick him on this one. And I think Jan, a lot of talking, a lot of jabbering, like, that's not his game. He's not a talker, he's a fighter. And Aljamain, he's a talker. Like Kevin Holland, he talks. and that's a part of his game. So
Yep.
I like Aljamain, man. I think if he can take it to the ground for a round or two early, this could really go deep. And then, he's got a lot of heart, a lot of size. He's a big and long guy for that division. So I love to see what happens there. So
I like Al's a little bit. He's aggressive, and I call it calculated risk because on the surface it looked like he's out there with reckless abandon. The
right,
way he like came at Sanhagen. Like Sanhagen was almost surprised, like holy shit, this guy he didn't fit. There was no feeling out. He just came in, clipped me, ducked me, did this, was all over me, and was around my neck before I could even blink twice. And I think it's that kind of aggressiveness that if he does that to Jan, he can get caught and
for sure,
he can get cracked
for
hard.
sure.
Okay. And that's how I think this fight's probably going to end. I think he knows that Peter Yan has an amazing gas tank. Peter Yan hits hard, and he's going to try to do some things early. And when he doesn't get Peter Yan out there early, I think it's going to be very much how he lost to Misha Tate's ex-boyfriend, Brian Caraway, guy from a while back, submission guy. I think it's going to be a lot of that, but not in the same manner because Jan's a complete fighter. Jan can wrestle, but he's also got crack hands, man. What he did to Aldo was something to remember. So I'm going to go with Peter Yan. So you got Sterling. I'm writing this down. Rob, Jay, we both got Amanda, JR. Let's do quick winner for the main card. Islam Makhachev against Drew Dober. Islam is I think is 18-1.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like him,
I mean,
man. Something about those Dagestan fighters, man. They're just that constant pressure. They all look like Khabibs. I'm
and
going
they
with
can
him.
get hit. That's the one thing I don't like about American fighters is they get hit, and it's like, oh my gosh, you hit me. Like these guys
yeah.
from Dagestan, from Ukraine, all these places, from Thailand. They be coming in like, yeah, I'm ready to get hit.
Well, those
so
guys spar. They spar hard, but they spar smart. Like if you see
Right.
all of their full sparring, a lot of it's grappling. Like their full sparring is grappling and submission, so they have more of a chance of having like a sprained knee in sparring than getting knocked out or a concussion.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what they do in their spare time. Maybe they go drinking and some shots of vodka and take turns punching each other in the face. Maybe that's how they get that the strong chin. But I'm going with Makovic. Thiago Santos against Alexander Rakic. I think both of them have won. I think both of them are 5-1 their last 6 fights. I know Rakic won like 4 of his last 5. God, I love me some Santos. He showed me
Right.
something against John Jones, man. Dude had one leg, and that was a split
One
decision,
leg.
which a lot of people thought he won. I personally did not. I thought Jones won.
No, he did
But,
not win that,
yeah, I don't
but
think
it
so
was a
either,
lot
but-
closer than it should have been.
Yeah. Respect to Rakic. Sorry, Alexander Rakic, but I gotta go with Thiago Santos on this one. You too?
Same. Yeah.
Cool. Before we leave, MMA, I have a quick question that I'd like for us to answer. Last week, Rosenstruck versus Gane ended in the decision. 7 of the 9 fights ended in a decision. And somebody asked me, like, are all these decisions bad for MMA as far as like generating fan interest? And I'd like to go first on this. I say no. I said I think people being safe hurts the sport. And the reason why, and people being safe sometimes more often than not leads to a decision, which makes some people think decisions are bad. But I disagree in a sense that if you look at some of the best fights in the history of the UFC, there've been decisions. Look at remember before the show we were talking about John Jones and Gustafsson, that first one? That was a decision. Diego Sanchez against Clay Guida. That's in the Fight Hall of Fame. That was a decision. That little kick that Pettis did off the cage, the Benson Henderson, that wasn't a knockout. That was in the 5th round, which wound up being a decision. Forrest Griffin against Stefan Barner, which actually saved the
was one of
UFC,
the
which put the
greatest
UFC
fights
back
of
in
all
the black
time.
instead of the red, was a 3-round decision. So. Yeah, Tito Ortiz against Forrest Griffin. That was a good match too. All of these fights, and we can go on and on and on. And these are all decisions. So I disagree. Decisions don't hurt. Don't hurt the sport. Fighting safe does.
Absolutely. I 1000% agree with you on that. The other thing is, and we were speaking about this earlier, is that, um, back in the day, they used to have, these guys used to like kind of sit on one another on the cage. They got that away by if you're not doing action, they stand you or they separate you. There was a time where there was a lot of MMA, there's a lot of submission going on, but there's a lot of groundwork going on, but there's not a lot of action happening. So, after a certain amount of time, you don't do work, they kind of stood you up. I think that same kind of rule has to be initiated with the stand up. If you guys aren't fighting, maybe you get into, like they have in wrestling where you're one person in an offense position, another person in a defensive position, and then we fight out of that. Or, you put them in a tie clench situation, and then they fight out of that. The other thing that I was just thinking about is that, if the total strikes for one of the fighters is under a certain amount of strikes, maybe they, get a little pay cut, or, if both fighters are under, maybe they both, get a pay cut. It's just, there's got to be action. This is the sport's about action. And Dana White, always talks about this. Like, we want exciting fights, exciting fighters, and I have nothing against wrestlers. I have nothing against anybody trying to do ground game, but especially how the sport is right now, you can't keep bringing in Damian Maya. I love Damian Maya. I love what he does, but you got to be able to fight on your feet. You have to be able to defend yourself on your feet and not just go 25, 35, what's it called? Takedown attempts, not getting a single one, and then barely throwing over 30 punches. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Yeah. That's just ridiculous. So I think there needs to be a little implementation, because at the end of the day, this is for the fans. Mm-hmm. The fighting is nothing without the fans being excited to watch and then paying these players their fair share.
I think the frustrating thing is about who the fans shift the blame on fighter responsibility to, right? Like, if you watched, I'll use Damian Maya as both of my examples. If you watch Damian Maya against Anderson Silva, Damian Maya went for a takedown, Silva escaped. He lays on his back, invites Silva. Silva's not going to do it. So the ref is just, there's this staring contest, and the ref's not standing him up. And people are booing Anderson Silva. Oh, you should finish him off. No, it's not his. I mean, and if you look at Damian Maya against Tyron Woodley, 24 takedown attempts, what you just said. Tyron Woodley decided not to engage. It's the place where he has the highest possibility of losing. So you're gonna have wrestlers that have better hands than these jiu-jitsu specialists. They do have the wherewithal to take them down, because that's just American wrestling. We're the best. I mean, well, I'd like to say we're the best grapplers in the world, but these Sambo guys are killing it right now. So
right, 1 and 2.
I stopped saying that. Yeah, but yeah, 1 and 1A, all right, or 1 and 2 respectively.
Right.
But that's the question. Is it's like, who do we as fans shift the blame on? Is it this, or is it not, neither? Is it the ref? Is it maybe the ref, like you said, should start taking points? This guy is. Clearly, he's not going to pounce on top of you. Don't lay on your back and rest, and stop. And the fans, stop yelling at the guy on top because you want him to hit him from above. But at the same time, that's the other guy's fight, especially in title matches. In title matches, if someone's laying on their back and inviting you to come down, hell no, that should never be on the champion. No, no.
It's true.
Oh, at least I got triangle choke, but at least I did what the fans wanted. So I mean, there's that give and take, the fighters and the fans, but the way the matches are ref, like Pride rules, right? They were taking points for inactivity, if you remember back in the day. So,
and I like that, because look, I mean, like we're saying, at the end of the day, it's about exciting fights. So I don't even care if you guys are wrestling the whole time and there's no punches, but wrestle, work, fight, right? Like, that's what we're here for. So if you're not giving it to us, we should get our money back.
Because even the diehards see the stalling. Like, diehards, when they see two people against the cage, they don't see what casuals see. Like, diehards, I'm close to a diehard. I'm an enthusiast. I see somebody
hand control.
Slipping in. Yeah, hand control. I see someone's shoulder, leaving himself open for You know what I'm saying? For like knees
Yeah.
to the body, or
Yeah.
or someone has like one leg in, like on his crotch. He might try to pull him this way for a single leg, or you see someone's back, and if they come down, if it's a power double. So I see that stuff on the cage that makes a lot of people boo. But even guys like you and me are like, nah, this is stalling. And then I'll do my little 30-second skip on my cable remote. 30-second skip, still the same spot. 30-second skip, still in the same spot. And I'm like, I just want to make love. They just want to make love. They just,
You're just
I'm
there.
thinking,
You're just there
damn,
for
it's
our
Saturday night.
entertainment,
They
but
ain't
different
getting none.
kinds.
This is the best. This is the best they're gonna get all week. So, I'm having fun with MMA, of course, because I'm an MMA fan and I get to do that. But I'm glad we talked about that. So now, Rob, before we go to shame and to shame and not to shame, let's get within our wheelhouse, okay? Cause it's our wheel house. Let's go beach volleyball, babe. First of all, before I talk about the Olympics and Doha and FIVB and all that stuff, congratulations, Avery Dross. Congratulations, Andy Benesh, winning the San Antonio Open. Awesome event because Texas, man, nobody these days, the last couple of years, man, nobody does it like Texas. I mean, Florida's like the wild, wild west, and you'll see a bunch of tournaments out there. But these night lights and like the
That's
fan
true.
separate participation. Big up to Jeff Samuels, of course. Him and a hitman for hire, Dylan Cox, made the semis. Bobby Jones, Project
I
X, made
saw
the
that,
quarterfinals, man. Did you
and
see
he
how
looks
well he
good.
played? Did you see this man play like I've known Bobby since 2005, 2006. I never see, and he was mad. He was a pup. I never seen him jump that high back then. He looked great. His hands look
He
good.
looks in good shape, man. He looked really good shape.
I've never seen him like that. So big
Hmm.
up Steven Roshitz, of course, our neighborhood narcissist, and Peter Cannoli, who you can't say a mean thing about. So I got nothing on you, boy. Um, yeah. Oh, of course, Evan Corey. Evan Corey made the finals along with who did he play with
Logan
again?
Webber.
Logan Webber actually did beat Drost and
Yes.
in the winners bracket match. So that was a pretty good revenge match. So you had kind of like a true winner at the end, a true decider, and I like that. So great,
Right.
great, whatever. So now let's talk about volleyball on a global scale. Right now in the rankings, Kim Smith, AVP writer, great article, talked about the seedings, how to get into the Olympics, how to qualify, and where the Americans stand. I don't know how recent the article is, but Kim Smith, the girl can write, man. She is the female Travis Merriweather, so big up to her too. Had to give her a shout out too. Okay, so Rob, with the men, number one, looking comfortable, looking pretty. Maybe somewhere outside of the top 10, but definitely in the top 16. Taylor Crabb, Jake Gibb. I think there's seven.
Hmm.
The women, one or 1A or 1 and 2 between them and the Canadians, and I think a couple one of the Brazilian teams. You got Alex Kleiman and April Ross. Alex Kleiman, starting her beach volleyball career a couple of years ago, chose the right partner, chose correctly, and that is a happy marriage. So the ones are a pretty simple issue. Where it gets complicated, we have a bunch of twos. You got Try and Trevor trying to finish fourth or higher. You got Phil and Nick trying to finish fifth or higher. You on the women's side, you have Clays and Sponsel trailing behind Kerry Walsh and
Brooke Sweat.
Brooke Sweat, but not by much. And they have to finish in certain spots to keep their whatever. So this and that. So this is gonna for people that are sensitive. You just turn off the camera. Just go somewhere else because something we're gonna say, our praise for some people is gonna sound like a slap in the face to the other. So if you're that type of person, then whatever. Listen, there's always Rob Sparrow, who's always positive, who I love near and dear. So Rob, my question is, who would you like to see as the second seed in the Olympics? Who do you think is going to be it, and who do you like to see? Let's start with the men.
So, I mean, I only really have two in my head. There's Trevor Try, and then there's Phil and Nick.
Yep.
The way I see it, honestly, is not even who made the best of COVID and being off for such a long period of time, but who needed that time. When you talk about Trevor and Try, they were on a tear, and I mean, obviously, Try had broke his thumb or wrist, right after Rome or something like that. So it was good that he could get his time off to heal. But as a team, I thought that they were just, doing so well that if they had a little bit more time, doing what they were doing in that phase, I think they would have been number 2 for sure. But now I take a step back, and Nick and Phil are back in Florida. They're doing their thing. They're around a lot of great volleyball and just getting the time in to train, and that's what they really need, is to not play tournaments. They need to train and get everything locked in, and whatever they want to do, they need to do it clean. So I'm going to go with Phil. Like, Phil and Nick is who I think is going to make it in, just because that time off is going to help veterans a lot more than it's going to help youth or the younger guys. So I think they come in.
And the tournament is not like, it's not like you have to play multiple matches a day. That's
exactly.
right up Phil and Nick's alley.
Exactly. And so if they could just buckle down and win a couple of key tournaments, I really feel like they'll be in. Dahlhauser coming off some break, maybe a couple more jump serves. Who knows? But I really like the way that they. I really feel like they're going to be a team that's going to maximize from this time off the most.
Okay, here's who I want to be in. I want Trevor and Try to be in.
Same.
I'm more of a fan of the sport than I am of certain players, but we're prisoners of the moment, and sometimes we can't help ourselves. So I love me some Theo Brunner. I love me some Trevor Crap. Of course, Taylor needs no introduction, and his respect there's already respect due. He's a top American seed. So I'm actually a fan of Trevor, and I do follow his games because I think he can do it all. I think he's a hybrid. I think he could play back row defense. I think he could block, and I think he's up there. And when the lights are the brightest, and these 5-star tournaments and these 4 stars or whatever, they're in there. They're in the semifinals losing, or they're in the semifinals trying to win, or in the 3rd spot winning. All right. And I can't say the same about the other teams in the American teams. I can't even say that about Taylor or Jake. I can't say that anymore about Phil or Nick. So when it seems like the higher the level of competition, the more that their star shines. And I think it's because they've already accepted that they can do multiple things instead of a coach saying, okay, you're only a back row defender. Okay, you're only a blocker. No, the hell with you. You can go to hell. Go kick rocks with that. We're going to do what the Latvians are doing. We're going to do what 1 or 2 of the Russian teams or 2 or 3 of the Brazilian teams are doing. So I like Trevor and Try. Now, who I think probably should be in it, gotta go with Phil and Nick, and this is why. Trevor and Try had these lapses where they lose these matches to people that you think they have no business losing to. You look at Phil and Nick, and I can say a lot about Casey Patterson. You look at Phil and Nick, and you look at certain teams they play, and you tell yourself, this team, even on their best day, is not going to beat Phil and Nick 2 out of 3 sets. On their best day, all right? You can't say that about Try and Trevor. Phil, Brunner and Kame Chalk on their best day can beat Trevor and Try. In fact, they have. Phil and Nick on their best day can beat Trevor and Try. Rafu and Ed Ratledge on their best day could be, they're not even playing together anymore. Rafu and Marciniak on their best day can beat Trevor and Try. And it makes the American public think that all of these top teams are closely matched together. No, there's just these lapses, and there's still a separation between the top 1 team and the top 2 and everybody else. So if I'm a pilot, if I'm in the Pentagon, right, and I need a pilot to go on a mission, do I go with the hot shot captains just to see if they could do it, or do I go with the colonel? Do I go with the full bird, the sure shot, the field grade officer? Going with the colonel. I would try to go, but I think Phil and Nick should go. Trevor and Try should go.
Yeah, I second that.
Try's a
fully.
cocky dude, man, but I love the way he plays, and his love for the sport is unconditional. But I'm gonna say you're cocky, dude.
No, I mean, I agree with that. I would love to see Trevor and Try in there. I love the game that they're playing. I love how they're, just what they're being coached and how they're coming out there and executing it. So I would love to see that. But yeah, I second what I said and what you were talking about, is that I really think that Phil and Nick is the right choice. But hey, we got a great future coming in with 3 younger players possibly going to the Olympics. So it looks great.
Jeez. Okay, now let's go to the women. Do we need to talk about Ross and Kleiman? No, we do not. They're 1 and 1A. Number 2. I'm gonna go first on this. Who do I want to see? I want to see Kerry Walsh, and I want to see Brooke Sweat. I want to see them because they do exactly what you expect them to do. If they're the third best team in this tournament, they're going to finish third. If they're going to finish there, you never see them finish disappointingly lower than what you think they're going to do. And
Right.
it always leaves room for them to finish higher. Who would I Actually, no, that's who I think is gonna. I take that back. That's who I think is gonna go because you know what to expect from them. Who would I like to see? I would love to see Kelly Kalinsky and Stockman because of the conversation we had. On their best day, they can beat any of those teams. They have these lapses. Sometimes you're like, oh my God, just okay, just a bad day in the office. All right, cool, call it. And then they have these games where I'm like, why aren't they in the top like three in the world? You know, and
Yeah.
everybody's, Jason, you're on crack. I saw that team play last week. They're not top three in the world. Did you see that team get smoked last week? I'm like, did you just see this team today? So the team I would like to see is Kelly Kalinsky and Emily Stockman, aka two jacked girls. Who do I think will be in it? I think it'll be Kerry, and I think it'll be Sweat. And it's a bit of a happy moment because I'm a huge fan of Kerry Walsh, and you never, and just like certain people, you know, like Tom Brady, right? You never bet against Kerry, but Brooke Sweat has not shown me from the last 12 months and the 12 months before that improvement significantly on the level where I'm gonna pick them to even to get into the medal rounds. I mean, I don't see it. And it's because, and I sound like I'm casting aspersions on Brooke, and I'm not. I'm attacking a volleyball player with volleyball. Clay's and Sponsel, the elephant in the room who I've not talked about, have the same problem as Stockman and whatever. They're on and off, and when they're off, they're terrible, and when they're on, they're world beaters. Sponsel is definitely someone to be a fan of and get behind, right? She's got the look, she's got the hands, she's a side out queen. Kelly Clays is out of that former partnership between her and Sarah, showed who the real better player was between the two of them, because you are what you're. Again, I'm pounding on people, but like Bill Parcells says, you're better. You are what your record says you are. Boom. All right. Though she hasn't won an AVP since Sarah Hughes, but them on their best day, have not been able to beat the Canadians. Them on their best day have not been able to beat Sponsel and Clays. The American team. So I look at them on their best day. What can they do in the Olympics? They're not making the medal rounds either. So, and that might be your team that you want to see. And Rob, who do you got? I'll shut up now.
No, you good. Yeah, I mean, who would I think's going to make it? I think it's going to be Brooke and Kerry, because I don't think I've seen Kerry block as well as she has since Misty. I mean, even before Misty, I think she's probably blocking the best that she has in her career right now, just from what I've seen.
Yeah,
and that just makes
like
it that
going
much
after the ball,
one-handed, grabbing it. So, like, yeah, for me, I think defensively that team is, studly. And when you talk about Brooke getting better, I necessarily as a team identity, that team is going to be a defensive team. They need to work on side out. They got to be clean on side out. They got to serve tough. But, Kerry blocking and Brooke defending, that's a good defensive team. So when we talk about defense, which is one of the linchpins of beach volleyball, that's they're pretty up there with some of the best teams. So that's what I really want to see.
I root for them.
What's that?
I root for them.
Same. But I mean, who do I want to see? I mean, besides Kerry and Brooke, I mean, I would love to see Kelly. I think Kelly is a fantastic player. I'm not super high on Sarah Sponsel.
Okay.
Yeah. Sarah Sponsel and Kelly Clays. I think Kelly is an unbelievable player. I mean, honestly, I would love to see Kerry and Sarah go back and make that reunion and see what they can do on the world tour. Because I think they just complement each other so well. But past that, I just, no one serves as tough as Kelly Clays. No one hits as hard as Kelly Clays.
It's like a dude serve. I'm gonna sound sexist, but that's a dude serve.
No, I mean it's we'll call it a country bred type of serve. Doing work on the farm.
Big Ten serve.
Yeah, exactly. She's got a lot of oomph behind it, and as well as great touch. So, that's what I'd love to see. I'd love to see Kelly get in there and play against some of the best in the world and shine. But it takes a team, and together. I wish Sarah's sponsor all the best. I think that Kelly is just a different level. Same thing with back in USC, and not to take this too long. I think whatever happened between her, like Sarah and Kelly, whatever it was, I just think Kelly was still growing. She's the bigger person. She was almost like deer in the headlights at that point because it was so imperative that for them to block. And she got served every ball. Like Kelly Clays got served all the time. And they were just trying to make her make mistakes. Now she's grown up. You can tell by her attitude. You can tell by the way she plays. She's the leader on the team. And, to have somebody else who's just as confident and just as aggressive, I think would really do well for her. So I would love to see what's going to happen in the next quadrennial. But I think Brooke and Carrie are going to make this second team.
Yep. Okay. Hey, yeah, listen, Kelly, still young and terrific right now. I mean, she might be in her moment now and still, I still has a ceiling.
She's going up.
All the things that I said negatively about Brooke Sweat with respect to Brooke, I say the opposite. I do see something from the last 12 months up to now where she has improved on a level that I would consider quasi-significant. Big up to her, man. I loved watching her and Kerry Walsh play in a qualifier for Norseka. Remember the Norseka qualifier?
Cool.
They were split
Yeah,
block.
I saw that.
Man, get out of here. Just a bunch of super athletes doing their thing. Two, big old smiles on their face. So, yeah, I like that. Okay, so we did our part for beach volleyball, did we not?
We got it in.
Okay. Yes, listen. Hey, and this man, this is Rob McLean's year too, man. He's been training. You got some training in with Ali San a couple of months ago. Helped Avery Dross. Trained with him, help him prepare for San Antonio Open. So, good stuff, man. Your serve to spaces looks wicked right now. I watched the videos of the training video with Rafu and Kevin or whatever, and that was the serve. That was the serve I wanted you to get back. So as far as like routine and form, maybe look back at that video. All right, so we did our part. We covered that, but now we have to go to my favorite. Well, I guess I'll call it my favorite thing. Rob,
Shame.
Jason, and everybody listening, I go to shame or not to shame.
Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame.
Okay, Rob, where you at? There you are. Rob, to shame or not to shame? We put a lot of people on our bullseye target and on the firing line, but right now we're under the firing line. It's you and me. Rob, to shame or not to shame? We're two volleyball people that don't talk nearly enough volleyball on a sports podcast. I'll go first on this one. Rob, I guess I go no shame. Nope, I'm not going to take the hot L on this one. No shame because for volleyball players, we don't just have fans that watch this podcast. We have coaches and professionals that watch this podcast. And when your escapism becomes your career, when your passion and something you can think about day and night becomes your career, you need an escapism from that escapism, and that's what we're here to provide. We're here to provide entertainment for volleyball people who do other things besides volleyball. And to some of people out there who are like, there's nothing else but volleyball, when you get to a level that some of these guys are competing, you will definitely understand what I'm saying. So I don't apologize for introducing the real world with the volleyball world and having them intersect sometimes. So for me, for you might go shame or whatever. For me, I go a big fat no shame.
No, I mean,
Rob,
absolutely no shame. Because first of all, it's called Sports Debate Tuesday. It's not called Volleyball Debate Tuesday. And on the other side, like you're saying, we want to reach to as many people talking about, sports. I mean, I love sports. I've watched sports my whole life. Every single sport, maybe not curling, but I enjoy most sports, and I want to talk about that. Yeah, I know. But, I want to talk about that. I mean, we haven't talked about skiing. We haven't talked about, baseball, really. We haven't talked about, there's so many sports out there that we could cover. So to say that we're not covering enough beach volleyball when there's no beach volleyball even happening, I don't know. It's a little singular. It's a little, small mindset. So.
Yeah, I didn't come up with, but just for the record, I didn't come up with the question. I mean, it's like
Hey.
it's like one of those things like Jason came up with the question to start, Ash, or whatever.
No, I mean, to whoever, is out there talking about we don't talk enough volleyball, bring us some things to talk about for volleyball, but we're covering the stories that, are up there. You know what I mean? There's not much to cover. I mean, we can go and talk about other countries, international players, but at the end of the day, we don't really have a lot to talk about over here.
It's true. We're moving on to quick question after this. But before we do, Casey Jennings, if you're out there, you thought I said something too harsh about Kerry Waltz, come see me, because I know you one of those guys that are like, it's like Candyman. You say the name 3 times, he come out with the knives. Chop, 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 chop. Much love to y'all. Much respect to y'all. Now we move on to our next topic. It's quick question. Quick question. La la. Guess my voice ain't that bad, huh?
Yes,
Rob.
get better.
Oh, man. Whew. Quick question. I might be down with the sickness. I hope I'm not. Quick question. The Knicks are 18 and 17. Are they back? Yes or no?
Hell no. Hell no.
Well, they
Quick
played
question.
on this Tuesday night. They played the Spurs. Ask me again after the Spurs. If they beat a team that's vulnerable, that a lot of people think as far as opportunities are concerned, and taking that opportunity, they win this game, I'll say, yeah, they're back. But they barely win the games that they're supposed to win. So,
brother, they could make the playoffs and they ain't back. They need a full structural rebuild, and they're doing it, but
well, they sucked for
doesn't mean
so
they're
long.
back.
I mean, are they back to being scrubs? Maybe the answer is no.
They're back to being okay. They're back to being 500 and then, accident waiting to happen.
But you know what made me watch them now? I mean, I'm still a Nets fan. I still gave up my card. I don't want it back. They are third in the league in defensive defensive efficiency, and they're first in the league in points allowed. So, so I think as soon as they get some offense and get that transition game, I think we'll know a lot more about them. But for now, you say no, I say yes.
Yeah, but real quick, I mean, let's talk about the players that they have right now. They have a number 2 overall draft pick, J.R. Barrett. They have, a number 10 overall draft pick in Kevin Knox. They have Obi Toppin, who's a number 6. This is talent. Mm-hmm. This is talent. You know what I mean? They haven't had talent. Let's talk about who they had when they had Carmelo. One of the best players when they had Carmelo is Jeremy Lin. Are you kidding me? The guy's playing in the G League right now. I mean, yeah, he was good where he was at, but bro, you need some talent around these guys. Like Porzingis, of course he wants to leave New York. Who did he have? Ain't nobody. Exactly. We can't even name people. You know what I mean? And we're from there. We're fans of the team, and you can't even name them. When you got LeBron, I could at least name Delonte West or J.R. Smith. Bum players. They're okay at the time, but still, they were good enough where you could remember them. Yep. These guys, Knicks haven't had talent on that team since the 70s. It's been pathetic.
Or the 90s, yeah. Well, that wasn't talent. Those are just hard workers. Those are just those were rough riders.
Ewing was talented, but again, he was on the edge of his career. Right after he got home from got in from Georgetown, that college took a lot out of Patrick Ewing. I'm sorry, it just is what it is. He should have been probably one of the top 5 centers of all time, and he's not.
But they made up for it with good coaching and really tough defense.
For sure.
I mean, Mason, Oakley,
talent.
Those guys. No,
that's not
exactly. That's why I said definitely.
It's hustle.
They were rough riders.
Starks.
Rough riders,
he could have had a lot more skills.
I mean, were the Pistons
it was
talented?
Just hustle and what's that?
Were the Pistons talented?
I mean, Chauncey Billups is pretty damn good.
Oh, that team. Okay.
Which one are we talking about?
Rasheed Wallace,
Isaiah Thomas?
Yeah, both Wallaces.
Isaiah Thomas was pretty damn good.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I
Hall of
agree with you on
Famers,
that,
right? First ballot Hall of Famers. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
So I don't know, that team, that's tough. That's tough to say.
All right. Quick question. Which quarterback? I saw this on ESPN, so I wanted to actually put it up. Which quarterback should want to be traded between these three? Watson, Dak, or Russell Wilson? Quick answer.
Yeah, Watson. I mean, get him out of there.
I gotta go Watson. Yep.
Yeah,
Um, quick question. We already did this. Would the Cowboys have given the same contract to Tony Romo that they're not giving to Dak Prescott?
1000%.
I
And
gotta say yes.
why is beyond me.
Gotta say yes. Quick question. Thumbs up or thumbs down? J.J. Watt to sign with the Arizona Cardinals.
Thumbs down. They ain't gonna get a chip before his career is over.
Nope. Thumbs down. I would have liked to see him play with his brother. We already know that. Quick question. The Niners are interested in Teddy Bridgewater. Would that be a good signing, or would that be a good thing or a bad thing?
Uh, yeah, it'd be good. You know,
I go
you
bad.
know.
I go bad. I think they're tied to Garoppolo with the money, and when he's healthy, they only went to a Super Bowl. Um, quick question: Ty Hilton is a free agent. Give me one team, bam, you think he should go.
Why? Um, I think you should stay with the Colts, man. I mean, they need some deep threat ability, but man, yeah, I'm gonna say he should stay with the Colts, man. I love seeing him there. I love seeing him
Yep,
there.
stay with the Colts. Man should retire a Colt. Besides, you got Carson Wentz who's going to prove his thing out there.
Exactly.
Quick question: which two teams are in the Western NBA Finals? I'll go first on this one. Lakers, Warriors.
Oh, come on. The Warriors, are you serious?
Go.
How about the Utah Jazz? Let's start with them.
Okay.
And then I mean, yeah, I mean, I'll go with the Lakers. You know, I think Anthony Davis comes back, but I don't think they beat the Utah Jazz. Let me tell you that right now.
Quick question: who's in the Eastern Finals?
I mean, the Nets and the Sixers. The Nets and the Sixers.
Wow, dude, I say Nets and Bucks. Cool.
I don't like the Bucks this
I
year.
know. I cringed when I said it. Quick question, last one. Do you actually see a comparison between Luca and Larry Bird?
No, not even in the slightest.
I only see the comparison that they're both unathletic and they're both not fast and they both can't jump. But no, 2 for 9 at the free throw line. Come on, Larry would cut his own throat. Larry
Never.
Bird would cut his
Yeah,
own throat if he had to do that. So,
never.
all right, so cool. Last section, guys. Before we go, this is a long podcast, but we had to make room for our wheelhouse. So apologies, and apologies to your battery too, Rob. Before we go, this is the first day of of Women's History Month. So every week we're gonna celebrate a female athlete predominantly. I mean, or whatever we want, but we're gonna go at female athlete. My female athlete I want to celebrate is Amanda Nunez. This one was the only woman in American top team that had to spar with men because there were no other men there. And when push came to shove, not a popular woman, not a needle mover, not as talented and as enigmatic as Ronda Rousey was, but she did what Ronda Rousey started. Ronda Rousey put MMA, women's MMA into the UFC and on the UFC map, and she literally took the ball and run away with it. And if there's anyone that disputes that she's not the greatest of all time, check her lineup. Beat Misha Tate, starched Ronda Rousey, starched Holly Holm, starched Chris Cyborg, which all of us were like, oh my God, beat Jermaine Durandamy, who's the Iron Lady. There's nobody left to beat. This woman wept because there are no worlds left to conquer. I give you Amanda Nunez. Who you got, Rob?
Yeah, for me, it's got to be Venus Williams. You know, being in the stardom all the time, having to go through her cancer issue. I mean, and then coming back and still being, you know, in the top 15 type of players in the world. I mean, she was in quarterfinals, semifinals for the last like 2-3 years, and you could tell that she's a different player, a different person. But you know, the heart and the fire is still there, and it's just amazing to watch, amazing to see. Even as her sister, it's just so crazy with both of them. It's just they push each other to such a level, but in such a great way. It's never animosity towards one. Even when they're playing each other, they're yelling at their successes or their own failures. It's never to across that net to the other person. So, I have to give Venus Williams all the credit in the world because, you know, she did it. She lost it. She came back and did it again. You know, that's just one of the best stories I know about.
I really like that you said her. I thought you were gonna say Serena. You pulled a gang.
As does
Rob, you
everybody.
pulled a gangster move on me. You are a gangster, and everybody loves Rob. Okay, and Rob loves you guys. Me, I can't stand you right now. I can't stand any of y'all right now. In fact, we're out of here. I think we're done. Rob, before I go on my little spiel, is there something you want to tell to all of the people listening to this podcast?
Stay safe, stay happy, get out and do what you love, man.
Oh, my dude. See, that's respect right there, dude. Okay, so for all of you at home, for all of you on your iPads, for all of you on your iPhone at Starbucks at the lunch line, for all of you on your desktop who runs the world, old school, for all of you on your droid, for Rob, keep it McLean. I'm Jason DeBiss. This is episode 56. Man, thanks for sticking with us this long. See you next week. We love you to pieces, and we're out.